Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review Season 5, Episode 7 of The Masked Singer. So I accidentally realized that I did a little bit of pictures out of order with just one, realistically. Because I had, I thought that I got everybody. I thought that I covered everyone. And yeah, realized eventually afterwards that, no. So going into this, I'm gonna after I talk about the crab and whatever, I'm gonna pause here and get back to the original lineup, and then start this whole thing off better. So that happens, mistakes happen. So going on here, we had double eliminations within this episode, which I was happy about because I'm like, okay, so we're going to see two people go home, and on top of that, we're going to, pretty much everybody that's left is really, really good. Like, within this episode, there wasn't one time where I was like, this person definitely needs to go home. I think there was a lot of people that were probably making consensuses of just saying, like, well, I think overall maybe this person just wasn't as strong, or so on, so forth, and whichever, and what have you. I think also if it all really comes down to probably star power, reasonably meaning like, oh, if a lot of people are fans of so and so person, they'll probably keep them on longer. And I think there might be a person here or there that might have been victim of just not big enough star power, I guess, within the show. And so that's quite possibly why they might have gotten voted off. Because really, there isn't really a surprise when I would say that this show could be kind of behind the scenes, not exactly, fair. There could be a rigging like thing going on that we may not be aware of, and when looking at it, it is kind of a coincidence that certain people at certain time win this show, or reasonably we have it to where some people are just built to be just better than others through just rigging the show of just we're gonna have these people and we know they're not gonna last long enough, and so on and so forth, but this person probably is, and dot to dot dot dot. But with that conspiracy behind us, I still thought that it was a pretty good show. I did like some of the bizarre clue packages. I actually liked that the Rooster was actually involved in this season. I wish that he would actually have been involved in this show more. I think it's bizarre that this Rooster character just showed up now. And also, when are we going to have to come to the consensus of who the Rooster actually is? And how are we going to be able to figure that out? Because it never seems like this Rooster is giving us much of any clues of who he is. And so how am I going to be able to figure who that out? Who is under the mask? It could be a trick thing. We really could have it to where it could be simply Joel McHale, because he might be trying to promote a show. But on top of that, reasonably Joel McHale has been on this show more than anybody else has. So it would make an easy thing to just point out that it's probably Joel McHale. I think also there had been another version of this show that had the Rooster being unmasked. So if anybody's thinking, oh, the Rooster has been unmasked already, I think that was a completely different Masked Singer show. And so it's probably not that exact same guy, justifiably. So going on into this episode, we have two people that are eliminated, and when they come up, I will let you know via mascotted name who had gone home. And then at the tail end of the episode, I will reveal who these people were. So if you want to avoid spoilers and whatever, I will do that until the very tail end of this episode. And then I'll just be like, ha ha ha, I got it wrong, or oh, this sucks, I got it incorrect. Because sometimes you just can't guess everybody, and sometimes you're surprised on thinking that you might have more time to guess who had gone home that night, and you didn't, and then you're just stuck with like, yeah, I still don't know who this person is, and so we'll just have to see who this person is, and I'll just be like, yay, I don't know who this person is, or yay, why was this person, because that sucks, because I would have naturally assumed that it would be this person or that person, so on and so forth. So, with that said, the crab. The crab, unfortunately, had been a person that had gone home tonight. I will let you know by the end of the episode who this actually was, but who has been my guess. So, immediately, I had said in the previous episode, well, if there is any kind of consensus or if there's any kind of little bit of thing that says anything that alludes to Ghostbusters or anything along those lines, that ding dong, it's Bobby Brown. I didn't need to go to any like, oh yeah, like the Brooklyn Bridge, BB, it must be Bobby Brown. No, immediately when we had a clue package of marshmallows, and we had a clue package that said Boston, and immediately I laughed because we had Robin Thicke that was consistently in this episode saying like, Boston makes me feel good. It must be that. So it must be Ray Parker Jr. I love Robin Thicke. Believe me. Like, I know where he just kept poking at that bear, hoping that it would win. But immediately when I would hear the word Bustin', I would immediately say, well, Bobby Brown did the soundtrack of Ghostbusters 2. Some people aren't aware of that, and some people do not know that thing. I've seen Ghostbusters 1 and 2 hundreds upon hundreds of times, and that's the only reason why I know that. And plus, I know full well that Bobby Brown was actually in Ghostbusters 2. He was the guy that led the Ghostbusters into to I think where they were going to see the mayor. I think. And we had it to where Bobby Brown asks the Ghostbusters, "Hey, like, can one of my kids get a proton pack? My kid really loves one." And we end up having it to where Harold and Dan kind of like are thinking about it, but then they're like, well, no. And then so they go on. I think it's the mayor. It could be at that point. It's either the mayor or it's when they like it's probably right around the point where they end up being called crazy and they get sent off to the loony bin. But yeah, Bobby Brown is legitimately in that movie, and so that's great for him to have been a part of that. But like, I actually really enjoyed the Crab's performance this week. In the Air Tonight by Genesis. I know Phil Collins did a solo bit, but I think that was still with Genesis. So yeah, really strong song. I really enjoyed it. A lot of people could have like heckled it because like, well, like it doesn't sound exactly like the song. Who cares? If he like butchered the entire song, what does it matter? He left. Like that was his last thing. But I actually liked his variation of it. Like I actually enjoyed it. It was fun. Um, and so reasonably, the crab had gone home, and so we'll see who this was by the end of this episode. So I'm gonna pause here. We're gonna backpedal So I'm going to pause here. Won't be right back. Okay. We are now going through the rest of the show in the order that it should have gone through because mistakes can happen. So the Piglet had performed a song called Pretender or Pretenders by this band called Foo Fighters. And so immediately when I'm like, you know what? Foo Fighters, this must be Dave Grohl. This must be Dave Grohl. This sounds exactly identically like Dave Grohl. So immediately this Piglet must be Dave Grohl. There is a very hard consensus that this could be Dave Grohl because Foo Fighters, and there has to be that, right? No. I made Dave Grohl as a funny, goofy little thing. If there was a clue package about Thor, then yeah, I would say that this is Dave Grohl because Dave Grohl did a song for a Thor movie, and so on and so forth. But the clue package bizarrely was about aliens and outer space, and this didn't make any sense to me. So immediately I just went with, well, this sounds like Nick Lachey. I'm still going with Nick Lachey. These clues are stupid and they don't make sense to me. And Nick Lachey for the win. Really good performance. The Pretender song. I actually really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a really fun performance to start off the show. So yeah, moving on. Robo Pine. So, in my time of knowledge of things going on, I immediately still think that this is Tyrese Gibson. I could be absolutely wrong about this person, but I honestly could just not really, like, it doesn't matter to me anymore. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm going to be wrong and or right about this person anymore, and if I am correct, then that's just another, like, another notch on the win-loss column over on the win side. And so, really, going into the show, there's very few people left, and I'm kind of more along the lines of like thinking that I'm probably going to get more right than wrong anyways for the season. So it really doesn't exactly matter to me anymore. Like if I guess who wins this season or whichever, because I kind of think it's inevitable anyways that like I've already guessed a majority of people, and like at least if I get like a right wrong every single episode, if I even purposely maybe get a thing wrong here or two just because I can, uh then it won't really matter because I will probably get a winning season anyways. uh yeah, it's like I'm not even rigging it. Like, man, if I could have really like if I could have really rigged everything to me being right all the time, that would just be a an annoying show. Where I would just have figured out like bizarrely on every single time of the last episode that I'd be like, yeah, like I knew it all along. And there was no information that I could have really spladooshed out that I knew about this person and why they won or why they got eliminated or why they whatevered. There's always some back head knowledge that I could talk about that could justify every single time when I choose somebody or when I don't. So Tyrese Gibson on the Fast and Furious franchise movies, really, Tyrese had done some music before this, and so yeah, like clear consensus that this could be Too Fast, Too Furious. Moving on. So we have the Chameleon, and Robin Thicke is consistently on that Wiz Khalifa bandwagon. We had it to where the Rooster had popped in, and I'm like, finally, the Rooster is actually a part of this show because he's just like a guy that was just hiding away consistently. And so I think about around this time, like we should figure out who this guy is at this point. Because if it's not Joel McHale, then it might be Donnie Wahlberg, which doesn't make sense. But I'm still thinking of that because why hasn't this person sung yet? Uh, but also, it could be uh, really any number of people trying to sell a show at this point. We could have had like the uh, God, what was it? The Masked Dancer? That host could honestly be under the Rooster. Who knows? When looking at it, I'm sure it's probably anybody that's probably trying to promote a show right now. So you would probably have to naturally assume that it's either been a judge at some point, or it probably is a person that is promoting a show of some sort on Fox or Disney or whichever. So yeah, whoever, make your guesses of the roster, the Rooster now, because I think eventually this guy is going to get unmasked eventually, anyways. Uh, old, I think the Rooster had been on some other show, some other masked singer show, and they had unmasked him, and so reasonably, I do not think that this Rooster is that Rooster. Like, I don't think it's one and the same guy. So yeah, everybody make your guesses now why they had to recycle this costume for one, and two, who this Rooster character could be at the end of the day. So Chameleon, we had it to where the clue package, or the extra clue package that the Rooster gave, mentioned that this person was in the Golden Globes and had won some award there. To where we immediately had Robin Thicke chime in to say, well, Wiz Khalifa was on the Golden Globes for a song, and yeah, surefire enough, he did win for the Fast and the Furious song that was the Paul Walker sad, whatever, him going off onto the sunset part of the movie. Yeah, like Wiz Khalifa did win for that. And so immediately I would just go like, well, it's still Wiz. It still connects. And we have it to where Robin Thicke is even doing the work to figure this all out, to still make my guess correct. So nice job, Robin Thicke. Cause so now we can just we're almost to the fact, if we're gonna get most of these right at this point, um, then we had a good season. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter that we got everyone right. It just matters if we get the majority right, because that's what I'm trying to stick to. Is at least I'm probably 90 to 80% correct for most of the season, and sometimes it ended up being a Google guess. Sometimes it ended up being a judge's guess, and sometimes it ended up having to do actual research of a person that I didn't already know about, and and come up with this answer that was probably, for most of the point, maybe quite possibly wrong. So moving on. So the Yeti. How? Okay. I'm like, how close are we? I'm gonna have to pause here to see how close we are to the end. Okay, I had to remember which one was the last one before the guessing, so I could just halter on everything. So the Yeti, not only did the just an amazing performance, he did it on rollerblades. This performance is insane to watch. Because, the entire time, I'm like, this guy is going to fall on the show. And, that's going to be the most memorable part about this season. Not only a thing that's going to be clipped a million times over and over and over, just watching a Yeti fall down on the ground. It's going to be hilarious, but also sad. I was expecting that to happen the entire time. I was thinking, I'm like, oh my god, this guy has rollerblades on. He is going to fall on his costume. Because face, he has a whole entire thing going on there. So I was scared for this Yeti doing this performance, because I'm like, this guy is going to fall. And I hope he doesn't. So we have it to where this performer did Lonely with by Justin Bieber. And so immediately, I guess a lot of people would make the consensus, well, hey, then it's not Justin Bieber anymore, it's someone else. I don't know what any of the clue packages helped me figure out who this person was, because I still don't know exactly who this person still is. Uh, so yeah, I still made the consensus of Justin Bieber just because it's like, well, what if it was a throw off tactic to have Justin Bieber sing his own song to make people think that it's not Justin Bieber? So it just makes people think that, well, maybe it's someone else, to throw everyone off, because everything with this season is to try as much as humanly possible to throw people off. And so, surefire enough, Justin Bieber could have honestly performed his own song to be able to get some album sales on the show. You don't know. But anyways, we had it to where the judges also said a character called Omarion, which, of course, I have heard consistently at points in time. This character, or this singer, was in a boy band called B2K, which, God, my memory is so freaking good at some points. We had a character, we had this guy who was in a band called B2K about around the time where there was also a band called 112 that was actually really good. Um, but anyways, we had B2K, which of course their most popular song I think was That's all I know about the song. I don't know any other lyrics other than that. Just was really like, they had that and maybe like one or two other hits, but that's the only one that I remember is the just because it was a weird, bizarre song. Um, like B2K was kind of like at the tail end of kind of like boy bandish like things. But the thing about them is that they had like 12 pack abs, and so they like did their performances most of the time like shirtless. So I guess like that was their big thing. Um, Shirtless guys that sang because Anyways, so with that said, I guess we can make the consensus that this could be Omarion. It could be any number of 80 bajillion other people, so I could be wrong about the Yeti. It like to me, if people have a real true consensus of who the Yeti is, let me know it in the comments below, because I maybe still don't know who this person is. I'm just going based off of just like, well, throw the kitchen sink of names out there, because I think it might be anybody at this point. Um, it was kind of amazing to see this performance done, because immediately I was like, dude, this guy is gonna trip and fall. It's gonna be like the Masked Dancer, where we're gonna have somebody like performing and they're gonna fall on their butt, and it's gonna be freaking hilarious. But it's also gonna be like, oh, well, hopefully they didn't hurt themselves. But luckily he didn't. So moving on. So the Russian doll, immediately, I think they are trying to trip people up. They are having four Russian doll things consistently out there to make people think that there are four people in this band. Here's the thing: we consistently have it to where there are not four Russian dolls singing, so there is no proof that there is a fourth person out there. Uh, but also, I had made the consensus that fourth person could be the Jonas Bonus brother that does not actually sing. So this could still be the Jonas Bonus brothers. So also, this could be Hanson, because who the heck else could it be? A lot of people could make the consensus at this point. Oh no, it's a five-person boy band, and we're not going to see the fifth person till the season finale. And we're going to find out the entire time it wasn't actually a boy band that we forgot about, or whoever. Maybe it's going to be NSYNC or Backstreet Boys or whoever, because people just want to make that consensus that there's probably five people that eventually people or someone is going to see. I still think it's three people, and I don't know, I think a lot of people are kind of getting restless with the Russian doll. So I was even assessing maybe Russian doll was going to get eliminated on this episode, just because people are just like, I want to know who the, I want to know how many of these people are there. Like, I want to know, and I think that's probably going to slowly but surely eventually get them eliminated if they're not telling exactly how many people are singing at one time. But on top of that, like, they need to have whoever is performing perform every single time, so then you can make a consensus, a clear consensus of like, oh, okay, so it's three people, and it's like, okay, so they all sing, okay, great. um like, that's the thing where it's just like uh they're teasing and they're whatever to make us think that there's a lot of people in here, and it could be an entire family of people. It could be like the Jackson family, or it could just be some like bizarre-ish thing that we could not have thought could have been the Russian dolls. It'll be interesting to see when eventually the Russian dolls eventually get eliminated. Maybe it'll be the band the Goo Goo Dolls. Ha 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 ha, because that's a joke. So, with that said, that's my consensus on the Russian dolls. People could have different selections, different thoughts. People could think that there is four people, which doesn't make sense to me because what band has four people in it that all sing? Maybe a lot of people are thinking that it is going to have a fifth member and it is NSYNC, or it is Backstreet Boys, or it is the Boys to Men, or the Kool and the Gang, or some other thing that has numbers of people. But this is all that I have to say right now for the Russian dolls. Moving on. So the Seashell had been yet another person that had gone home. So the clue package for the Seashell immediately popped in as an anchor, like as a news reporter, and so immediately the thing that into my brain was Catherine Hahn was in the movie Anchorman. So immediately my thought process was just like, okay, well, like, she wasn't the actual main Christina Applegate person, but that doesn't matter. She was still in the movie Anchorman. So I was still thinking, I'm like, well, Agatha all along, maybe it was this person, superhero clues, anchor on the news report. Like, this has to probably be Catherine Hahn. I could be way off. This clue package doesn't exactly make sense to me. Whatever the heck is going on. Kirsten Chenoweth had been in American Gods, and I was immediately thinking maybe they grabbed two people from American Gods. But then once I was to hear this performance, I'm like, yeah, like, I really enjoyed this performance. Like, it was really fun. And at the end of the day, I could say that I like really didn't know who this person was, so I was kind of grasping at straws. And so by the end of the day, we will see by the end of this episode who the Seashell really was. Moving on. So this should be the last one going on to here. So right after here, we are going to do a just 5 count, and then we're going to go into spoilers, because most of this stuff is review, and plus I don't want to bite up a lot of time. So, the Black Swan. So, I had probably said and whispered, just because I also had a comment come through, helping me out through maybe one or two people of the show. It depends. So, we have the consensus that Nicole had spoken the words of a person named JoJo. And immediately we had Robin Thicke, who's like, I don't think this is JoJo. I think that this sounds completely unlike JoJo. And if this is JoJo, then man, is this going to blow up in my face, because this might be JoJo. And Robin Thicke could be immediately wrong. So that would be freaking hilarious. So, going on into this clue package, every single week they have some Disney clue thing going on here, and I do not understand what any of this is. So with the Black Swan, there was some like Cinderella clue package. I'm like, well, how many people have actually done Cinderella, the live action version? Like, I think Brandy, I think, did do Cinderella at one point. So maybe I'm thinking like all along that Brandy could actually be uh, this person, this Black Swan. So I'm going to throw into the hat that this Black Swan could immediately be Brandy. Because I think Brandy was like heavily a Disney person for a while until she like went on to her own and then like did her thing. Like I know that Brandy I think did a show called Brandy, but I don't know what company that was from. So reasonably we could have Brandy actually as a Disney person and so on and so forth, and we might not know that or recognize that or whatever. So the Black Swan honestly could maybe be quite possibly be Brandy, but I could be blowing smoke on my butt because really I did not go into like listening to the Black Swan and then listening to some Brandy songs. So um, I'm just kind of kind of popping this knowledge out of my brain noggin for reasons. So with that said, Vanessa Hutchins or Hutchinson, I think I'm saying that wrong, but it doesn't matter. Vanessa, reasonably, we had I think in the clue package, I think the Black Swan was dancing with some guy with some shark head that made no sense to me. I could be thinking of a different person all along. Um, I could be saying that that was the seashell that was dancing with somebody, but I don't know. I don't remember. Um, but with that said, that popped in my head that Vanessa did do a Beauty and the Beast remake thing with Neil Patrick Harris, and that could allude to the fact that it could be a a real showcasing of that. We have to where Vanessa has done a ton of movies where she's been like the King and I and all or whatever, like the God, what was the she did some King movie at some point. She's done a lot of bizarrish movies that made no sense to me why she actually did them, but I guess they were just fun projects and so she did them. She did a lot of movies where she was like cloned and she had like two Vanessa Hutchinson movies where she was like double herself. So she was like performing with herself, which was very bizarre. But that led her to eventually have a like a king in one movie, and also uh, she had a knight. She was like she ended up like having a knight as a boyfriend in one other movie. It's bizarre. Um, so Vanessa, I'm still thinking that it's quite possibly going to be this character. I could be completely wrong. A lot of people could finally make the consensus of any number of these guesses to be like, no, it's not this person because there's no clue package here that alludes to so and so person. You're wrong. It's so and so. Because I know because this clue package says this clue package says that, and we have confirmed it now. But I don't know with the Black Swan. I'm not 100% sure still. I could be wrong. This could blow up in my face. And honestly, oh well. I could be wrong. But with that said, I think it's about time to do a double elimination to show you who both had gotten eliminated. So if you have not seen this episode, go ahead and replay it and check it out on Hulu, HULU. You can watch the entire season and catch up, or do whatever you want. You can get spoiled about this and then watch the show afterwards. And be like, yeah, he is right about the people that uh, had gotten eliminated upon this episode. Bravo to this man because he's a bizarrely good guesser because he has too much time on his hands to have already known knowledge about these people, which he should not have because maybe at some point somebody will actually say, hey man, this guy needs to like have a real deal show thing because he has absurd knowledge that makes no sense. So, with that said, in my head, let's go into the otherwise spoiler time. Because it's about that time to go into spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time again to spoil. I did the movie spoiler thing in The Masked Singer. Okay? Alright. Well, we are going to showcase who these people are right now. Both Seashell and Crab. So get ready to be spoiled because you will be. So moving on. The Crab and or Seashell. Of course, the Crab was Bobby Brown. Of course, the Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack thing. Immediately I said, like, dude, if we get anything that even hints on anything to do with Ghostbusters, you can guarantee that this is Bobby Brown. And the very next week, Bustin' made me feel good. Good old Robin Thicke with his bustin' makes him feel good. He kept saying that repetitionally throughout the episode. He was like, but bustin' made me feel good. And so I have to think that it's gotta be Ray Parker Jr., which, again, I'm making fun of him about it. But how many times has Robin Thicke actually been correct? More times than people have been wrong. But also, he has been wrong as well. But anyways, so have I. Because really we have Tamara Maurley Housley. I'm probably saying that incorrect. So we have Bobby Brown, who's a Grammy winner and king of R&B, not to mention an actor because Ghostbusters 2. And probably any number of things that he was probably in. But he was still an actor. It counts. Daytime Emmy winning host, actress, and author. I actually thought that it wasn't actually Tamara or either one of the sister and sister twins because I thought that they were so busy doing something. Like, I didn't think that they were actually going to ever be on the show just because I thought that they either had a show going on or something. Like, I thought that they like were well off to being so busy that there was no way they were going to have time for the show. I actually did watch Sister and Sister when it had its original run during some point in my life. Like I was like I watched like a ton of TV shows that I didn't even like. I questioned why I watched them. But yeah, I ended up watching Sister Sister. I remember watching also like Hanging with Mr. Cooper and all kinds of shows that were just kind of really interesting. Like I watched the God, what was it? The Wayans brothers. I watched that show. Like that was really good. I thought like those episodes were really fun. And I could be wrong about the title whatsoever. But yeah, so Tamara, I didn't make that suggestion. Like I was thinking, I'm like, well, like Nicole quite possibly is right from time to time. So I was like, like there's some times where I want to go with Nicole's guesses, but then there's also times where I'm like, I don't know. Maybe she's just kind of like she has just some kind of bizarrish thing that is completely and utterly wrong. But yeah, I guess I should probably go with Nicole's guesses a lot more often. Because if it seems clear that one judge guesses more than once, more than likely, like it is actually correct, or I should just go with the guess anyways. Because fairly often than not, when somebody guesses something more than once, like I think that it's quite possibly the right guess. But yeah, Nicole was actually correct for once. She's been right a couple of times. I actually went with her guesses at some point. So like she is actually a really good guesser. Like it's just the fact that I think a lot of times like she has a lot more inconsistency than anybody else has. To where I think there's some judges that are much more consistent than she is. Uh, like Robin Thicke, like is consistently like, well, yeah, I think it's this person, and I'm not going to waver or whatever. Like I still think it's that person, and it ends up surefire enough being right sometimes. Uh, but we end up having it to where supposedly Ken and McCarthy, I think, are in the running for the Golden Ear again this season. So we'll eventually figure out who had gotten something right in this season. Maybe it'll actually be Ken for once. That'll actually be right about something. Hopefully, I hope, because that'll actually be fun to have Ken like hoarding that over everyone for an entire season if he actually does win. So with that said, this is kind of a 50-50 split. So like this episode honestly does nothing for my overall score because like it's basically a 50-50 split. Like one cancels out the other. So I still have a majority of things correct at this point in time. So let's go on to the recapping. If you don't know who has gone home through these entire episodes, then I'm going to spoil it all now. So by and large, go ahead and check this show out if you haven't yet, because I'm going to be talking about every single elimination right now. So, show recapping. So, reasonably, let's see here. So, I've had reasonably. Let's count the correct ones. So, how dare I count? How dare I try to count? Because horrible counting. So yeah, so I technically have had 5 correct if you even count Bobby Brown, and we have had 1, 2, 3 incorrect. So yeah, so I can get 2 wrong and I would be 50-50 split. So, reasonably, when looking at it, how many are left now? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 left. And, like, I am pretty sure that I'm probably going to get 1, 2, 3, at least 3 out of the 5 left correct, I hope. Maybe even 4, 5. Yeah, I'm probably gonna get all of them. All of them after this point, I'm probably gonna get all of them wrong, and then I'm like, yeah, this sucks. Um, but yeah, I think I have a pretty good chance of still winning this season because that's like it's not even to the point of going and saying like, well, I don't know, I anything could happen at this point. No, like I think reasonably, things are looking up for this season more than looking down. I think reasonably, if I get like, there's still a pretty decent chance. There is still a 200% chance that I'm still going to be able to win this season. But there's still a 999.99% chance that things still could not work out, which is either way going to be fine. I think it honestly would be cool if I could get like 50-50 split, where I got every character right and or wrong, because I think that'd be fine, but I don't think there's a even number of characters in whatever anyways, correct? Because how many are there really? Well, there's the same number of Group A and Group B, so yeah, it should be an even amount. Yeah, because there's an even number. Yeah, so I could get a 50-50 split because reasonably, like, there's same numbers of A as B. So yeah, that would be nice. That would be cool. I'd be fine with that to just be like, yeah, I'll get a 50-50 right and or wrong. But with that said, yeah, even though I could say, yeah, I got Bobby right, it doesn't matter because it was still like a not like it was not a uh, like a winning overall show, and so like I could say that immediately I called it, and that's all I could say. Um, but with that said, in my head, I think it's about time to get out of here. How long has this review even been? 45 minutes! Wow, I didn't realize that. So I think it's about time to get out of here. I think probably the most fun guesses that I probably actually got correct were probably actually Mark McGrath as Orca. Because I didn't think I was going to get him correct. I didn't think I was probably going to get. I didn't think I was going to get the Grandpa Monster correct either. So those were just kind of like last minute guessing, and plus judges also helped me out with Logan Paul, but I actually knew something about Logan Paul, which helped me. But with that said, I am going to get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.